recording. Alright. Welcome to a BRIGEXPLOSION how-to tutorial. In this video I'll be showing you how to paint your airsoft gun to make it look post-apocalyptic like. You know, just rusted, scratched up, muddy, used, just on the verge of breaking. So I showed you the items I'm using. I'm putting gloves on so I don't get anything on my hands, or whether it be paint or acetone. So I was putting tape on areas I didn't want covered in paint because I'm gonna do a full coat of tan. So I was covering up edges and where the receivers meet, scope lenses, motor grip. I can always paint back over them if I needed to. Flash hider, of course. Didn't want any paint getting in the barrel, and I used a broken mag to cover up the mag well. So as you can see here, starting off with tan and just lightly going over it. Doesn't all need to be even because it's gonna look messy anyway. This was actually my first real airsoft gun I got from Ballyhack Airsoft when I started playing. And I've modified it a bunch. Full stock, rail, outer barrel, inner barrel, bucking, internals, motor. Used to shoot 350, now shoots about 380. Flipping it over, doing the other side. The whole reason why I was doing this is because there is an op for Ballyhack Airsoft that they do every year, called Revelations, which is a post-apocalyptic op where you can pretty much do whatever. You gotta dress like you're a survivor in a wasteland and pretty much just fight for food, water, cures to any diseases, build sheds if you need to, or places to camp out at. It's a 2-day op, which is really fun because then you play the first day and come back the next day and continue to play. So I'm using the black paint here to give it a more textured look. From farther away, it gives it nice little specks, and then in certain areas I went a little closer. Other parts that might be worn out more, where they're constantly touched, like your face or your hands or up against your gear. So now, after that, ripping up some sponge and got the paintbrush. I'm now removing the tape. The painter's tape was actually really good. Kept all the excess paint from getting on to the areas. I removed it off the lenses of the scope, but I'll put them back on eventually. I'll put tape back. Now in the paint tray I'm spraying some of the darker brown that I had using the paintbrush and just going along the edges where the paint and the tape were meeting, just to kind of break up the solid line that's there. And you do like multiple steps for painting. You might be painting the same color more than once over other colors just to give it a better look, so it just doesn't look like one is painted over the other. It gives it a nice mix. Dotting certain areas and swiping and more. Going around the scope and around the stock to make it look more worn. Paint coming off type of thing. And after each time I paint, I let it dry. When I do the spray can itself, I will give it about an hour. When it's something like using the sponges or the paint brushes, I'll give it like 10 minutes because it's not as much paint that needs to dry. Right now I'm going over the edges again with a sponge with the black paint on it. And then just going in other areas as well, dotting and scraping it along. Takes time, but if you really put effort into it and don't rush everything, works out really nicely. Since it's supposed to look worn and used and everything like that, it doesn't have to look pretty. So now, after waiting again, go back over the same spots with the darker brown paint and a sponge. Gives it a more mud look, sometimes rusted when it mixes with the other colors. And it looks shiny now, but when you use the matte finish, it'll dull the paint so it won't look so shiny. Just showing you how it looks so far. And going back again with some black paint. Really scraping along places. Alright, after it dries, now it's time for the aluminum paint. The whole point of the aluminum paint is usually to get it on areas that are metal to make it look like it's scratched down so far that the paint's come off. And So a lot of it will be going on the receivers, the scopes, and then even the rails themselves. And then I'll put them on some other spots just for fun. So once again, taking a piece of the roller sponge, shaking up the aluminum can, just scraping across areas. Doesn't need to be any specific pattern, can just go here and there. Don't want to put too much in one area because then it just all looks silver. Look at how shiny it's getting from it. There will be a part where I feel like I've put too much, so I'll take the acetone and take some off. Which, if you ever put too much paint somewhere, that's the great part about acetone, is it strips paint. So you can use a paper towel, dip some acetone onto the paper towel and just wipe off and clear areas, as long as you're doing it before you apply the matte finish, because the finish is what will keep it from just peeling off normally from like water just being worn or anything like that. So, went over some spots, got some of the aluminum paint off where I thought it might be too much, and sprayed it with the matte finish. Did about 2 coats of that. So as you can see, it's going from shiny to dull. And drying overnight, and there you go. Scratched, rusted, muddy, worn. And that's about it. So, thanks for watching.